What do you mean by joint liability or constructive liability? When does a person become liable for the criminal act done by another person? Also differentiate between Section 3 Clause 5 and Section 190 of BNS. Explain constructive liability in Sanhita with special reference to Section 3 Clause 5 and Section 190 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Also distinguish between common intention and common object. Joint and constructive liability. Liability, joint and constructive liability are legal concepts used to attribute responsibility to individuals for offences that they might have committed collectively or indirectly. These principles are particularly significant in situations where multiple parties are involved in committing an offence, but their individual roles might vary. Principle: a moral stroke, though given by one of the party, is deemed in the eyes of the law to have been given by every individual present and abetting. The person actually giving the stroke is no more than the hand or instrument by which the other strike. The principle of vicarious or joint liability is stated in Section 3, Clause 5 and 190 of the BNS 2023. The underlying principle of a well-recognized canon of criminal jurisprudence that the courts cannot distinguish between co-conspirators, nor can they inquire as to the part taken by each in the crime. Where parties go with a common purpose to execute a common object, each and every becomes responsible for the acts of each and every other person in execution and furtherance of their common purpose. As the purpose is common, so must be the responsibility. The law of relating to joint offenders or constructive criminality is laid down under Sections 3 Clause 5 to 3 Clause 9 of BNS. Suppose ABCD are all joined to commit Z's murder. Different consideration will arise according to different circumstances in the case. If they merely join and do nothing else, they would be guilty of the offence of criminal conspiracy, even though nobody is murdered. Now suppose A alone commits that murder. Can BCD say we are not liable as A alone and A alone is? The answers to such questions are to be found in Section 3 Clause 5 to 3 Clause 9. They lay down the following 4 important principles governing joint offenders. Section 3 Clause 5. Acts done by several persons in furtherance of common intention. When a criminal act is done by several persons in furtherance of the common intention of all, each of such persons is liable for the act in the same manner as if it were done by him alone. Section 3 Clause 5 is an instance of what is called constructive criminality, that is, liability of all for the acts of one or some of them. Section 190 also deals with constructive criminality. Principle of Section 3 Clause 5. Section 3 Clause 5 is an interpretative provision and embodies the principle that if 2 or more persons intend to do a thing jointly, it is just the same as if each of them had done it individually. If the intention or purpose is common, so must be the responsibility. Object of Section 3 Clause 5. Section 3 Clause 5 is a rule of evidence and does not create a substantive offence. Its object is to find out the acts committed by individual members or to find out what part was taken by each of them in furtherance of common intention of all. It is framed to meet cases in which it may be difficult to distinguish between the acts of individual members of a party or to prove exactly what part played by each of them. The reason why all are deemed guilty in such cases is that the presence of accomplices gives encouragement, support and protection to the person actually committing the act. Analysis of section 3 clause 5. Under section 3 clause 5, proof of common object is not enough. It must be proved that the participants in the crime had the common intention and the act must have been done in furtherance of the common intention. Furtherance of a common design is therefore a condition precedent for convicting each of the persons who take part in the commission of a crime, and the mere fact that several persons took part in the crime in the absence of common intention is not sufficient to convict them of the crime. So it is not sufficient to convict them of the crime. Mere presence of persons at the scene of an offence is not ipso facto sufficient to render them liable for the crime. The existence of a common intention is therefore the most important test of joint responsibility under section 3 clause 5. Essential ingredients of section 3 clause 5. Before a person can be held liable for the acts of another person under section 3 clause 5, 2 points have to be established. That is, that there was common intention in the sense of a pre-arranged plan between the two, and b, that the person sought to be made liable had in some way participated in the act. Thus, unless common intention and participation both are present, section 3 clause 5 will not apply. So, common intention and participation must be present. Only then section 3 clause 5 will be applied. The common intention is the mens rea necessary to constitute the very offence that has been committed. It is a bare desire to commit a criminal act without any contemplation of the consequences. Participation in the crime in furtherance of the common intention is sine qua non under section 3 clause 5. So, common intention must be proved. To establish guilt under this section, it is necessary to prove common intention, and it must further be shown that the criminal act was committed in furtherance of that intention. Also, the common intention must be anterior in time the commission of the crime. There must be a pre-arranged plan, and criminal act must have been committed pursuant to the pre-arranged plan, though this does not mean that there must be a long interval of time between formation of common intention and doing of that act. That is, Rashideo Pandey versus State of Uttar Pradesh. It must be noted that the common intention can be formed even on the spur of the moment. Common intention is a question of fact. It is usually difficult to prove common intention, but it can be inferred from the facts of circumstances. Thus, the accused were all relatives of each other and armed with deadly weapons. They simultaneously attacked the deceased when ordered kill by a person. After the incident, they left the scene together and were later arrested at the same place. In such circumstances, it was held that the accused had inflicted the fatal injury with a common intention. This is Maksoodan versus State of UP. In furtherance of the common intention of all, the criminal for which all conspirators are sought to be made liable under section 3 clause 5. Under section 3 clause 5 must be connected with the common intention. It must have been done while or for the purpose of executing or carrying out the common intention. If it is extraneous to the common intention or is done in opposition to it or not required to be done at all for the carrying out of the common intention, it cannot be said to be done in furtherance of such common intention. The use of words in furtherance suggests that section 3 clause 5 is applicable also where the act actually done is not exactly the act jointly intended by the conspirators to be done. Otherwise, the words would not be needed at all. The common intention can be to do one act and another act can be done in furtherance of the common intention. It may be preliminary act necessary to be done before achieving the common intention, or it may become necessary to do that act after achieving the common intention, or it may be done while achieving the common intention.